Friday nights used to mean something different. A few years ago, they were movie nights at home, late dinners with too much wine, sometimes a spontaneous weekend trip. Now, they were excuses. Schedule gaps she couldn't quite explain. Vague work events. Social obligations I wasn't invited to. And tonight was one of them. We were driving through Midtown toward River and Rye. The new spot Ashley swore was where her department was doing a team dinner. Apparently, someone had just gotten promoted. Or transferred. Or something. I couldn't keep track anymore. She mentioned it 2 days ago, briefly, like it wasn't worth remembering. She was dressed a little nicer than usual. Black dress, heels too high for something casual, and the gold necklace I got her 2 anniversaries ago. The one she usually said was too dressy to wear out. Her perfume filled the car in a way it hadn't in months, and her makeup was flawless, like she was going on camera. I didn't say anything about it. I hadn't for a while, but I noticed. Ashley sat silently, thumbing through her phone, half scrolling and half texting. Her screen tilted just enough away from me that I couldn't see much. Every few seconds, the screen would light up again. Tap, scroll, smirk. Tap again. Silence. I kept both hands on the wheel, pretending not to care. But I cared. I cared more than she probably realized. We stopped at a red light 2 blocks from the restaurant. The sky outside was a dusky blue, clouds thickening with the threat of rain. The kind of night that always made her say, "Let's just stay in." But not tonight. That's when her phone buzzed again, and she reacted just a bit too fast. My eyes darted to the screen before she locked it. "Don't be late. He's already here." Just those 6 words. The font was 2 familiar messages. The name wasn't saved. Just a number. I watched her thumb fly to the side, dismissing the notification with a flick like it never existed. But it did. She caught me looking. Her body stiffened slightly before she turned toward me with a fake laugh smile. "Oh my God, that guy again," she said, shaking her head. "It's just an old friend from college. He texts dumb stuff sometimes. You remember Derek? Always joking around. Ignore it. Derek, right?" She hadn't mentioned him in over a year. Said they barely talked anymore. But here he was, reminding her not to be late. And he was already there. At the dinner? I didn't respond. Didn't ask again. She thought she won. But what she didn't know was that I had already stopped believing her 2 months ago. The first time I noticed something was off was after a seminar trip to Raleigh. She came back different. Distant, twitchy around her phone, full of fake enthusiasm. Told me the hotel didn't have working Wi-Fi when I asked why she hadn't called that night. Then there was a weirdly vague receipt in our joint bank statement from that weekend. A luxury wine bar with no name. When I asked her about it, she said, "Oh, that was the team. We went there after the seminar." But I knew her team, and I knew they weren't in Raleigh that week. Still, I let it go. That was my mistake. Then came the secret calls. The night walks on the balcony where she wore both earbuds and kept her voice low, always walking back in like she'd just heard a joke. The changed passwords. The girls' nights she started organizing without checking her calendar or mine. The sharpness in her voice when I asked to do something together. The way she rolled her eyes when I suggested we get out of the city for a weekend. Just the 2 of us. And now this. I eased off the brake when the light turned green, but I didn't press her. I didn't ask who he was, or why he was already there, or why she suddenly looked like she was preparing to be on stage instead of sitting through a work dinner. Because deep down I already knew. I wasn't driving her to a restaurant. I was delivering her to someone else. The silence in the car stretched long enough to feel deliberate. Ashley spoke again, fiddling with her earring. "You're quiet. Just traffic," I said. She nodded and turned back to her phone. A few seconds later, she sighed, like she was trying to fill the space between us with casual noise. "God, I hope this doesn't take all night. I hate these things. Everyone just wants to brag about what they're working on. I'll probably sneak out early." Yeah. Maybe grab dessert on the way home." She glanced at me. "You want me to bring you something?" I shrugged. "Up to you." That seemed to throw her for a second. Like she expected me to act annoyed, or ask for a slice of cheesecake. or something to make her feel like everything was normal. But I gave her nothing. Just quiet. She turned back to the window, then adjusted her dress. Not for comfort, but like she wanted to make sure it fit right before someone saw her. A few minutes later, I pulled up in front of the restaurant. River and Rye looked exactly how I remembered. White brick walls, dim lighting, valet at the door. A blackboard sign announcing some seasonal menu item in looping cursive. The kind of place people went to be seen. Ashley leaned over, kissed my cheek quickly, then opened the door. "Thanks, babe. I'll text you when I'm done." I watched her disappear into the lobby without checking in with the hostess. Just kept walking past the line, straight toward the back, like she wasn't meeting anyone from work at all. Then I pulled away from the curb, but not far. I turned the corner and parked half a block away. Turned off the engine. Waited. A minute passed. Then 5. My phone vibrated. It was the tracking app I'd installed a week ago, hidden in the background of her device under a fake workout app. Her location pinged. And it wasn't the restaurant. It was across town, 15 minutes north, in a quiet residential neighborhood, far from any office, far from any work dinner. And it was moving. Fast. I tapped the map again, zooming in on the street. It was a cul-de-sac. No stores. No restaurants. No reason for her to be there. Unless there was someone waiting. And just like that, the pieces began clicking into place, one after another, like dominoes I had spent months trying to keep from falling. But now I wasn't stopping them. I was letting them fall. I didn't follow her right away. Instead, I stayed parked under a broken street lamp 3 blocks over, engine off, windows cracked, listening to nothing but the soft tick of my dashboard clock. Every tick felt louder than it should. Every second heavier. Ashley's location dot was steady now. Locked to a street I didn't recognize by name but had seen once or twice driving through town. No shops, no bars, no restaurants. Just a quiet, tree-lined block with evenly spaced houses, most with security signs in the front yard and basketball hoops leaning toward the street. Definitely not a place where corporate dinners happened. I just stared at that dot for a while, letting the weight of it settle on my chest. She was there. She chose to be there. And I knew that whoever was waiting behind that door wasn't just some friend, wasn't a coworker, wasn't Derek the jokester from college. It was someone she'd been building a second life with. And the worst part? She never thought I'd catch on. But the signs were always there. Too many things didn't add up, and now they all came rushing back in detail, clearer than ever. The first trip was Miami. Supposedly a weekend seminar. Real estate, tax law, or something dry that made her yawn even while explaining it. She came back with a tan that didn't match the weather she described, a pair of sunglasses I'd never seen before, and no actual receipts. Just one transaction, SPA Lux, Miami Beach. No hotel, no flights logged under our shared account. Nothing else. She said the seminar covered everything, meals, rooms, even airfare. But she never brought back a name tag, brochure, or a single photo. No one on her team posted about it. When I asked how it went, she said, "Boring. But I networked." Right? Then there was the time she changed her passwords, all of them, in one day. "I got a weird security alert," she claimed. IT said to reset everything. I asked if it affected her work email. She said no. Just personal stuff. That's what bothered me. Why would IT tell her to change her personal accounts? But I didn't push. I didn't want to be the insecure husband, the controlling one. So I nodded, said, "Makes sense," and swallowed it like I had so many other things. Another coincidence. She also started spending more time on the balcony, always at night, always with both earbuds in, pacing, whispering, laughing at things I never got to hear. When I asked who she was talking to, it was always Lisa or Beth or someone else from the office. Once, I stepped out with a beer and caught her mid-sentence. She jumped like I'd caught her stealing. Then came the wardrobe shift. Ashley always dressed well. But lately, she'd started buying clothes that didn't look like they were for the office. Heels too high, dresses with slits. Lingerie she used to reserve for anniversaries, now folded neatly into drawers she never let me near. I tried suggesting a weekend away once. A cabin near the mountains, Just the two of us, no distractions. She barely looked up from her laptop. I don't have time for a getaway, she said. I'm drowning in deadlines. I need space, not some forced couples retreat. Space. That word echoed for weeks. When someone says they need space, it's usually because they're already filling it with someone else. I hadn't wanted to admit it, but the dots were there, scattered across receipts, reactions, and routines. And now, staring at the blinking blue light on her location, they had finally formed a line, a direction, a truth. She wasn't asking for freedom. She was using it. I checked the time. 7:42 p.m. She had told me her dinner started at 7 o'clock sharp. A few minutes to settle in, maybe order drinks, but no texts, no calls, no fake updates to cover her tracks. Just silence. Because she wasn't thinking about me. She wasn't worried about getting caught. She was sure I'd never question it. And why would I? I hadn't before. That was the game. I grabbed my phone and opened the app again. The location hadn't changed. Still at the same address. I ***ed it, just in case. Then another idea hit me. Something I hadn't thought of until now. Bank statements. Not our joint one. The personal account she said she used, just for subscriptions. She thought I didn't know she kept it. But she forgot she once paid a parking ticket from it, and used our shared email. That led me to the bank's portal one night when she was asleep. I logged in again. My hands trembled. There it was. Multiple charges over the last 3 months. All vague names. Clover Apparel. Skyline Dining. Ride City. All places I hadn't been with her. Some on nights she claimed to be home late from work. Others while she was on trips. There was even a charge from a boutique hotel across town. The kind with no signage, all glass, rooftop pools. The timestamp? 2:17 a.m. on a Saturday. When she told me she was sleeping at Lisa's after too much wine. She hadn't been sleeping. At least not at Lisa's. I leaned back in the driver's seat, staring at the soft glow of her location. Still unmoved. Then I remembered something else. 3 weeks ago, I found a receipt tucked under the passenger seat of her car, folded in half. It was from a gas station nowhere near her usual commute. I asked her about it. She laughed. Said she'd gotten lost trying to find a new yoga studio. There was no studio. I checked. Another lie. One of many. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. That part of me was numb now. All I felt was clarity, the kind that doesn't come fast but hits like a freight train once it does. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. She was gone. Not physically, not yet. But the part of her that belonged to me had walked out a long time ago. Now I just had proof. I started the car, but I didn't pull away. Instead, I turned slowly and headed north, toward the address on the app. I didn't know what I expected to find there. A confrontation? An answer? Maybe just a face to put to the betrayal. But I wasn't going to let this night end in silence. I deserved to see. Not because I needed to explode or yell or demand she explain herself, but because I had given her every chance to be honest. And this was my last chance to stop pretending I didn't know. The truth was already out there, and now I was going to meet it face to face. I didn't drive straight to the house. Not at first. I circled the block once. Then again. My hands were gripping the steering wheel tight enough to hurt, but I didn't loosen them. The street looked like every quiet suburban neighborhood. White fences, porch lights, someone grilling in a backyard. But all I could see was the front door of the house where Ashley's location hadn't moved for nearly 30 minutes. Third house from the corner. Beige siding, dark red shutters. A garden gnome sat crooked near the porch. The car in the driveway was familiar, even from a distance. Derek's car. Black Acura. Tinted windows. The same one I saw in old Facebook photos, tailgates, weddings, that one blurry pic of their college friend group at a beach rental. He was always the guy on the edge of the sh**T, next to Ashley. Back then, I didn't think much of it. Now I couldn't stop staring. My mouth was dry. I pulled over just far enough down the street that I wouldn't be seen. Engine idling. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Maybe I thought if I stared hard enough, she'd walk out and this would all be a mistake. Maybe I'd see her step out, talk on the phone, get in an Uber, and this would all make sense again. But nothing happened. No movement. Just silence. I reached for my phone and opened the tracking app again. Still there. Her icon hadn't budged. Inside that house. With him. I looked at the timestamp. 42 minutes. I could feel it happening. That slow drift from theory into certainty. You hold out hope for as long as you can. Even if your gut is screaming, even if your chest is tight and you know deep down there's still a voice whispering maybe it's not what you think. But that voice was gone now. I checked the time. 8:17 p.m. I zoomed in on the map. Then I zoomed out, just to make myself do it. To look at the spot where I had dropped her off an hour ago. River and Rye. The restaurant was still bustling. I called the place, hand trembling slightly as I pressed the screen. The hostess answered. I put on my calmest voice. Hey, my wife said she had a reservation under Ashley or maybe Delaney. A work event. Pause. Some keyboard clicks. Sorry, the hostess said. No reservation under either of those names. Not tonight. Are you sure? I'm looking at the full list. That was it. Proof number 1. I hung up and stared straight ahead. The streetlight above buzzed faintly, insects tapping against the glow. Ashley hadn't even tried to make the lie convincing. No reservation. No names. She didn't expect me to check. Didn't expect me to want to know. I opened my phone again. This time, I clicked into the folder I'd started earlier in the week. One labeled, Ashley Notes. Screensh *TS. Photos. Odd charges. The receipt from the wine bar. The gas station slip. I had it all now in one place. I didn't know what I'd use it for yet. I wasn't thinking legal or revenge or anything that dramatic. I just needed to see the whole picture. In case she ever tried to rewrite it. In case she tried to make me the crazy one. A movement caught my eye, second-story window. A silhouette. Ashley. Her hair was pulled up. She slipped her blazer off and tossed it onto a chair. Then she laughed. She turned away from the window, but I saw her clearly. Then another figure appeared behind her. Taller. Male. Derek. He stepped close enough to touch. Then he did. Hand on her shoulder. His other hand brushed her arm. She didn't flinch. She leaned into it. My jaw clenched. There it was. No more maybes. No more theories. Just truth. I stared at them for a long time, unable to move. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because part of me still couldn't believe this was real. I had imagined this moment so many times over the past few weeks, tried to prepare for it, tried to tell myself I'd be ready. But you're never ready. You think you'll storm in. You think you'll catch them and confront them and demand answers. But when it happens, you freeze. Because the person you trusted most has just proven they're someone else entirely. And you don't even know what to say to a stranger like that. I could feel something rising in my throat, but I pushed it down. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to break. Not in front of them. Not tonight. Instead, I took a photo. Just one. Not of the people. Just the house. The car in the driveway. The timestamp. The window glowing upstairs. That was all I needed. I drove away, slow and careful, like I didn't want the tires to betray what I was feeling. And I didn't go home either. I parked in a lot by the river, the same spot where Ashley and I used to walk on early dates when we couldn't afford much. Felt like a lifetime ago. I sat there for a long time, watching the lights shimmer off the water, my phone on the passenger seat, her location still pulsing softly. I don't know how long I stayed. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. Then I drove home. I opened the front door and stepped inside. Everything looked normal. Same couch. Same framed photos. Same kitchen light she always forgot to turn off. But it didn't feel like home anymore. Felt like a lie frozen in place. I went upstairs. Pulled out her suitcase from the closet. Started folding her clothes. The ones she hadn't taken with her tonight. I didn't touch her jewelry. I left her hairbrush on the counter. Left the perfume. But I packed enough. Then I wrote a note. Just one sentence. You're free. But now without me. I set it on the dresser. I didn't check her location again. Didn't text her. Didn't call. I turned my phone off. Put it in the drawer. And lay down on the guest bed. fully clothed. No lights, no noise, just silence. The first sound that woke me wasn't the front door. It was her voice, muffled through the walls. Jason. Soft, hesitant, like she wasn't sure she had the right to speak my name anymore. It was 10:52 p.m. I had been lying on the guest bed for 3 hours, lights off, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling with my arms crossed like I was bracing for an earthquake. But the quake had already hit. This was the aftershock. She was home. I heard the rustle of her heels on the floorboards. She was trying to walk quietly, like a thief sneaking back into a house she didn't own anymore. The hallway creaked. "Jason?" she said again, louder this time, pushing the bedroom door open. But I wasn't there. I stayed silent in the guest room, door locked, light off. She wandered for a few seconds. Then the sound of her footsteps stopping, the moment she saw the suitcase on the bed, the open drawers, the note on the dresser. Silence. I imagined her picking it up, reading it, mouth slightly open, just enough to let out a whisper of disbelief. She always reacted like that when things didn't go her way. Not anger first, not even panic. Just that stunned quiet, like she couldn't believe someone had made a move before she did. A minute passed, then 2. Then the sound of her phone vibrating, probably in her purse. Then again, her voice in the distance, low and sharp, pacing. Couldn't make out the words, but I knew the tone. She was calling someone. Maybe Derek. Maybe someone else entirely. Didn't matter. What mattered was that I didn't answer when she knocked on the guest room door. "Jason, can we talk?" No. I didn't respond. Didn't move. She knocked again. Softer. "Please." Still nothing. My silence wasn't just stubbornness. It was power. It was proof that I was no longer playing her game. Another pause. I heard the creak of the floor as she slid down to sit just outside the door, her back probably pressed to the wall. I could hear her breathing, shaky. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "I don't even know where to start." I stared at the ceiling and waited. "I'm sorry," she said. "It wasn't supposed to go this far. I didn't plan this. It just happened." Still I said nothing. The silence stretched so long, I thought she might walk away. But she stayed. "You don't understand," she said, more desperate now. "You've been distant for months. I tried to talk to you. I tried, Jason. And then Derek just showed up again. And I made a mistake. One mistake." I closed my eyes. Not because of the words, but because of how rehearsed they sounded. She had said those exact 3 words when I caught her lying about the bank charge in Miami. I made a mistake. Funny how convenient mistakes can be when you keep repeating them. She sniffled. "Can you at least say something?" But I didn't, because everything that needed to be said was already in the note on the dresser. "You're free. But now, without me." The difference between freedom and abandonment was choice, and she had already made hers. She stayed outside the door for a while longer. Then, eventually, her footsteps retreated. The master bedroom door clicked shut, and I was alone again. I didn't sleep much that night. Every sound echoed through the house. The air conditioning, a car passing on the street, a soft tap from the window blinds moving in the breeze. Each sound reminded me of what the house had become. A museum of what used to be my life. In the morning, I got up before the sun, showered, got dressed, packed the rest of her things into the suitcase and 2 trash bags, not out of spite but efficiency. Folded clothes, shoes, her favorite throw blanket, the framed photo from our trip to Mendocino she kept on her nightstand. I didn't break anything, didn't throw it in a pile, just packed it all neatly. I set it by the front door. At 7:11 a.m., my phone lit up with the first message. "Ashley, can we please talk?" At 7:14, another. "Ashley, I read your note. You can't just shut me out. You have to talk to me." By 7:22, the tone changed. "Ashley, what do you want from me? Huh? Do you want me to grovel? To say I'm trash? Would that fix this?" I didn't reply. At 8:02, a voicemail. I didn't listen to it. At 8:30, she came downstairs while I was in the kitchen. She stopped when she saw me, her hair tied up, Sweatshirt too big. The same one she wore when she was hungover or wanted to pretend nothing serious had happened. She opened her mouth, but I raised my hand to stop her. "I'm not interested," I said. That was it. 5 words. Then I walked past her and out the door. I drove around town for most of the day. Stopped at a diner. Got coffee I didn't finish. Sat in a park I hadn't visited in years. Watched a kid fly a kite and wondered how long it would take for Ashley to realize she'd lost control. Not just of the situation, but of me. Because here's the truth. For a long time I had tolerated little lies. I had let myself be gaslit into silence. I had swallowed every red flag and called it just stress. But that was over. And she could feel it. Because nothing rattles a manipulator more than a man who walks away without begging for answers. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then came a text from Amelia, Ashley's sister. We hadn't spoken in months. "Amelia, can we meet? Just us. You deserve to know more." That made me stop. I sat there in the car for a full minute, staring at the message. Then I replied, "Me where?" We met at a bakery halfway between our neighborhoods. I got there first, grabbed a table near the window. Amelia walked in 5 minutes later, wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy, like she didn't want to be seen. She sat down, folded her hands. "You okay?" she asked gently. "I've been better. I figured." She paused. "I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner." "Said what?" She looked around, then leaned in. I knew Ashley was messing around. Not just with Derek. I stared at her. "What do you mean, not just?" She looked down at her coffee cup. "She's been meeting people. I don't know how many. Some from work. Some not. She's got files. Photos. Videos." I blinked. "What kind of videos?" "Leverage stuff." Her words, not mine. She said it's insurance, just in case. In case of what? In case people get in her way. I leaned back slowly, heartbeat picking up. "Are you telling me she's been blackmailing people?" She'd never say it out loud, but she joked about it once. I found an external hard drive in her bag last year, had a ton of files. Names. Emails. She took it from me when I asked what it was. Said it was work junk. My stomach turned. This wasn't just about cheating, was it? I said quietly. Amelia shook her head. "No, Jason. It never was." By the time I got home that evening, Ashley was gone. Suitcases, trash bags, all of it. The house was quiet again. But it didn't feel like defeat. Felt like the air had finally cleared. I made dinner, just pasta, and sat at the table alone. No phone beside me. No TV. No small talk. Just peace. Not closure. Not yet. But something close. Because for once I wasn't chasing her. And she had nothing left to hide behind. I met Amelia again the next morning. We didn't plan it. She texted at 7:08 a.m. "Amelia, I found something. You're not crazy." 3 words that hit harder than any insult Ashley had ever thrown. You're not crazy. Because when you've spent months second-guessing yourself, when you've been told you're too sensitive, too suspicious, reading into things, that one sentence becomes the rope that pulls you out of quicksand. I texted back 1 word. "Where?" She sent an address. It wasn't a house. It wasn't even a coffee shop. It was a storage unit. Off a side road near the industrial park. When I pulled into the gravel lot, I found her already there, leaning against her car with a hoodie pulled over her head and sunglasses on again. Like the weight of knowing the truth had aged her overnight. She didn't wave, just motioned for me to follow. "Before I open this," she said, stopping in front of the unit, "you need to understand something." I nodded. "She's not just a cheater, Jason. That's, honestly, the least of it." I figured. "No, I mean Ashley's been collecting people. That's the word I'd use. Not dating, not seeing, collecting, like leverage, like chess pieces." My skin prickled. "You're talking about blackmail." "I don't have proof she's used anything yet," she said. "But I've seen the kind of stuff she has. And it's not just private messages or flirty photos. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a keyring. "You ready?" "I've been ready since Friday." She unlocked the unit, rolled up the door. It groaned open. Inside, one folding table, a plastic tote, and an old laptop with a cracked corner. That was it. "This is her backup," Amelia said. "She doesn't know I found it. She thinks she lost the spare key." She knelt down and opened the tote. Inside, a stack of USB drives, envelopes, and a small camera, the kind you could clip onto your clothes. I recognized it. I'd seen Ashley use it once on a trip. Said it was for vlogging. We never had a vlog. "Help me go through this," Amelia said. So we did. For the next 2 hours, we sat cross-legged on the concrete floor, opening files, cross-checking names, watching short clips. Most muted, some grainy. But what was clear, painfully clear, was this. Ashley wasn't some flirty coworker who made a mistake. She was calculating, methodical, and scarily patient. There were time-stamped clips of city meetings. One showed her brushing arms with a man I recognized as a councilman. Low angle, her voice in the background, coaxing out details about a zoning vote. Another showed her sitting in a parked car, camera pointed discreetly at herself as she held up a business card and said, "This one cracks after 2 drinks. Easiest yet." There were email printouts, too, some flirtatious, some transactional. Project managers, contractor, one man who worked for a regional development firm. At least 3 of the names overlapped with city proposals Ashley had casually mentioned over dinner months ago, back when I thought she was just venting about work. I looked at Amelia. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" I didn't know what to believe. Ashley's my sister. And, honestly, I thought maybe I was just being judgmental. But once I saw the footage, the way she talks to these guys, it stopped being gray. "And you didn't say anything." She hesitated. "She told me if I ever crossed her." She had photos from my freshman year. Stuff I told her in confidence. Threatened to remind Mom about certain choices I made. She never said she'd use anything. But with Ashley, it's never about what's said. I believed her, because I'd lived it. Manipulation wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was a soft voice in your ear, just hinting at consequences you couldn't prove. Ashley didn't fight with fists. She nice silence and secrets. I stood slowly, brushing dust off my jeans. "I want copies of everything." "You think you can use it?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not letting her keep control." Amelia nodded and handed me a USB. "That's everything from the laptop." "What about the camera?" "It's mostly junk. Half the files are corrupted." "I'll take it anyway." She looked at me with a kind of cautious relief. "You're not going to try to destroy her, are you?" I didn't answer right away. "I don't want revenge," I said finally. "I want peace. But if she tries to burn me first, I'm not going to sit in the ashes." When I got home, Ashley was gone again. No note, no message, just her absence, the kind that didn't feel like grief anymore. I sat at the dining table, laptop open, the USB plugged in, thumbnails filling the screen like a mosaic of betrayal. I copied everything into a locked folder. Then I made a second copy on a backup drive, and a third onto encrypted cloud storage. If she'd been playing chess, I was finally catching up. And she wasn't going to like that. The next day, it started. She hit first. Not with words, with strategy. A call from my mother. Confused. "Jason, why did Ashley text me that you've been threatening her?" My stomach dropped. "She what?" "She said she's afraid you'll hurt her, that you've been acting unstable." I didn't know what to say. I almost laughed. It was so on brand. When she realized she couldn't control me through guilt, she pivoted to fear. Paint me as the unstable one. I checked my phone. 2 new voicemails. 3 emails from mutual friends. 1 message from my boss. "Can we talk?" Something odd came across my desk. She was trying to flip the script. Fast. By noon, someone had sent a *T to a group chat I shared with 2 of Ashley's former colleagues. A fake message made to look like I'd sent Ashley something threatening. But the font was wrong. The timestamp was off. It was a poor imitation. Still, it didn't have to be good. It just had to be loud. I stared at the messages flooding in. My name getting twisted. My silence being spun as guilt. And that's when I realized. She didn't care about keeping me. She cared about keeping the image of control. So I leaned back in my chair, took a breath, and opened a new email draft. Subject: In the interest of truth. I attached 5 files. A voice recording of Ashley planning a fake dinner excuse with Derek. A time-stamped location log. A financial spreadsheet showing her personal withdrawals to fund trips she claimed were corporate events. One blurred still from the balcony camera. And finally, a redacted clip of her referring to one man as her insurance policy. I BCC'd 3 people. My attorney, my HR manager, Amelia. Then I sent it. Not to embarrass her. Not to win. But to draw a line in the sand. At 6:32 p.m., she called me. I let it ring. At 6:35, she texted, "What did you do?" I didn't respond. At 7:11, "We need to talk. Please, I'm begging you, don't destroy everything." At 8:06, "You're not innocent either. You think you can paint me as some villain? I can talk too. Don't test me." And that's when I smiled. Because that right there was the real her. Not the tearful apology. Not the voice outside the guest room. Not the "please forgive me" echo. It was the threat. The warning. The idea that I would back down if she roared loud enough. But I wasn't afraid of her anymore. I was just done. Ashley panicked the second she realized I wasn't bluffing. First came the rumors. Subtle jabs whispered to friends. Carefully worded claims that I was spiraling. Then fake **TS. Messages I never sent. Forwarded to my family, coworkers, even my boss. She tried draining our joint account, but I'd moved the funds the day before into a protected one. She didn't know I'd already hired a lawyer, already compiled everything, the recordings, photos, bank statements. When she tried to twist the story, I didn't argue. I let the evidence speak louder than any accusation. She was used to control, not resistance. And now that I was silent, prepared, and one step ahead, she had no idea where to strike next. Her chaos hit empty air. I didn't leak to social media. I went to a local paper, anonymous tip, full dossier. Within days, Ashley was under review. She lost her job. The city launched investigations. Derek vanished. Several projects she'd touched were paused. Then one night, she showed up at my door. No umbrella, soaked in rain. Mascara streaked like ink on her face. She didn't speak, just sat on the steps like there was something left to salvage. I watched from the window for a while. Then I walked away. Not out of cruelty, out of peace. I had a new life now. One she couldn't follow. One where her silence finally matched mine.